Can't stop, won't stop, playa. Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. 175.1 million XRP wired by Ripple and its ODL corridor as XRP liquidity index hits new all-time high. So it appears we're back to being able to report every few days, it seems, on new all-time highs in Ripple on-demand liquidity corridors. And again, also massive amount of XRP here. So I'm going to run through this. I've also got a somewhat unfortunate update to a story I covered just the other day. Do you guys remember the video I put out? I'm sure some of you out there checked it out, having to do with the XRP ledger amendment, having to do with checks. And there was an XRP community member named Alloy Networks who really got the ball rolling on this again after, for the last couple of years, nothing had really happened on this. In order for an amendment to move forward, actually get adopted, you have to hit this 80% threshold of 80. So it's 80% of validators on the network approving of that, and then you have to sustain that for 2 weeks. And so he changed his vote. He was against it, and then ended up changed his mind effectively. And then there was one more person that did, one more validator that did, and that actually did pass the other day. And so now we're in this 2-week waiting period, but something bad happened to Alloy Networks, which I shall be sharing with you. So those are a couple of the things we'll be talking about here. But before we go any further, if you would please delicately tap that like button. And if you like that Ripple can't stop, won't stop, go ahead and subscribe to the Moon Lambo channel. Join the echo chamber. All right, into the content. The XRPL Monitor blockchain data provider shows that over the past 24 hours, 175.1 million XRP was sent by the DLT giant Ripple on its on-demand liquidity venue and a few major Korean exchanges. The giant amount of XRP is worth $36.1 million. The XRPL Monitor reported that nearly a dozen transfers of large sums of XRP, anywhere from 10 million to 27 million XRP each. And the San Francisco blockchain heavyweight Ripple was one of the transferring parties here, as it moved 69.8 million XRP worth $14.4 million. Perhaps some rebalancing here. Ripple's Luxembourg-based on-demand liquidity corridor, Bitstamp, wired 40 million XRP worth $8.1 million. So, is it rebalancing? Perhaps. Two large South Korean exchanges, BitHum and CoinOne, also took part in moving this jaw-dropping amount of funds. But that's not the only news on this. As far as on-demand liquidity goes, well, take a look at this. XRP liquidity index hits new all-time high. Because you know what? XRP, as it turns out, is actually legitimately useful as a bridge currency. And if it's not used as a bridge currency, then the business entities that have models just entirely around this whole concept of XRP as a bridge currency, they could offer the same service, but it wouldn't really be the same service, would it? Because it would cost more, and it would be a lot slower, and there would be less certainty in terms of transaction finality. How about that? The Liquidity Index bot on Twitter has reported that the index of XRP liquidity on one of the ODL-based venues set up by Ripple has hit a new all-time high. It happened on the Australian exchange BTC Markets. It's a cryptocurrency exchange. After leaving behind the previous all-time high of 15.6 million, with 15.9 million, the new all-time high settled at over 16 million. So a notable jump up. And on Bitstamp, the XP liquidity index is growing to coming close to breaking current liquidity record. And so it's always a pleasure to report on these things because, as I always say, utility matters and will win the day. That's my entire investment thesis. So that better be true, damn it, or else I'm in trouble. I think it'll be fine. Next, take a look at this. So the headline is Looming Up XRP Upgrade to Implement Unusual Feature Despite Apparent Opposition from Ripple. And so I'll briefly run through this just to set the table. I had a whole video about this just the other day, so I'm not going to do some sort of deep dive, but I want to make sure everybody knows what I'm talking about before covering it further. Validators on the XRP ledger have voted to adopt a new amendment without support from Ripple. The checks amendment has now crossed the necessary 80% threshold. If it stays above that threshold for 2 weeks, it will be activated on the XRP ledger. Ripple holds 6 out of the 7 outstanding nays. And by the way, once it happens, that's it. It's permanent unless you put forth another amendment, and then you have to kind of go through it again. But other than that, it's actually that's the final step. The upgrade will allow senders to sign transactions and create virtual checks for specific amounts and destinations. The XRP will not move until receivers decide to cash them. If the checks fail due to potential sender issues like insufficient balance or liquidity, they will remain in the ledger so they can be cashed later. And the amendment gained momentum when the XRPL validator Alloy Networks removed its veto on June 2nd, leaving it one yay short of crossing the threshold. And so, there's a tweet on the screen indicating as much right there. And so Alloy Networks is the one that I was talking about, and some of you may recall I even asked a couple questions about what was the incentive. If you want to learn more about it, like I said, put a whole video out. You can easily find it. But Alloy Networks, well, check this out. There's a tweet from Wietse Win just a bit earlier today. And he wrote, this timeout, lovely friends at Twitter decided to get rid of our knowledgeable friend, skilled XRPL infrastructure operator, and wonderful human being, Alloy Networks. He's okay. His Twitter account isn't. That's right. So his account's gone. And Tiffany Hayden responded, no, did anything weird happen beforehand? And then she wrote, looks like it might only, hopefully, be temporary, though. And so she shared this screen grab. This is Alloy Networks. It says, caution, this account is temporarily restricted, and I checked right before recording this video again, and it still is. And I suspect that this is without any additional information, because from all indications are that Alloy Networks is an upstanding individual. Fine, it's a fine Twitter account. Nothing crazy has happened. But Twitter has its own algorithm that tracks infringement on the policies that they have set forth. And if the algorithm interprets something incorrectly, weird stuff like this can happen. That's how you ended up coming to see XRP community members, for example, that actually were accused of being impersonators. Like you can think of, there was XRP Research Center, there was XRP Boy. That's just 2 off the top of my head. There were others that lost their Twitter accounts. And clearly they were not impersonating anybody, and there was no recourse. That was it. Twitter just frankly doesn't care. So in this instance, though, it says temporarily restricted, so hopefully he comes back, because that would kind of suck if you had to just start a brand new Twitter account. And not fun. Yay, Twitter, go. And so there was this tiny thread did kind of make me chuckle, even though I obviously this sucks, and I'm not making light of what happened to Alloy Networks, but still, the response, it's funny because it illustrates absurdity. And so in response to Wietse Win's tweet, somebody, who's this, at New World Bank 2, responded about Alloy Networks being down, his account being gone, and wrote, any sane reason, ? And Wietse Wind responded, no one knows. Twitter doesn't communicate about just about anything. It's exactly, which is, it's just like I was alluding a moment ago. Indeed, if your account's suspended, you can try and contact them, but let me assure you that they will not care. That's what I've seen anyway when there's been problems with XRP community member accounts, and typically what they do is they just have to start over. Which is a shame after you put into so much effort being a fine, upstanding XRP community member, and you grow a following, and then it's taken away from you, and also all the people that enjoy following you. It's just gone one day. It's just rather unfortunate, and you can't just with the snap of a finger get that all back, even if you start a new account. I mean, you can get a certain amount of it back, but still, it's not fun stuff here. But anyway, and then in response to that, New World Bank 2 wrote, well, this is the part I thought was kind of funny. He wrote, well, at least we know that everything is okay with Twitter, and they are not changing a bit. So I was like, yep, they give 0 F words. 0 of the F word. So that's kind of where we're at right there. But anyway, so despite that kind of sucking, in general today there's been plenty of good news within the XRP community, and so I'm always happy to report on that good stuff, especially as we're entering what hopefully will be a relaxing weekend. Cross fingers, no more riots. We shall see. That's it for this video, though. I am not a financial advisor. Do not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo!